In the high-stakes playoffs of The Voice Season 27, Jaelen Johnston gave a performance that left the audience, the coaches, and the fans buzzing with excitement. Not only did his passionate performance of Tim McGraw's "If You're Reading This" ensure that he would go on to participate in the live shows, but it also cemented his position as a leading contender for the team that Coach Kelsey Ballerini is leading. This analysis, which is around 1,000 words long, delves into Johnston's journey, the emotional and strategic genius of his performance in the playoffs, and how his honesty and vocal prowess surprised Ballerini, resonating with the contemporary audience of The Voice, which is looking for genuine narrative. The path that Jaelen Johnston took to get to the playoffs. Jaelen Johnston, a young woman of 21 years old hailing from a rural community in the state of Tennessee, made her debut on The Voice with a voice that was entrenched in the traditions of country music. It was his blind audition performance of Chris Stapleton's Tennessee Whiskey that earned him chair turns from both Reba McEntire and Kelsey Ballerini. Ballerini praised his gravelly soul and storyteller's heart. After making the decision to join Team Kelsey, Johnston rapidly established himself as a top performer by combining raw vocal force with an emotional sincerity that resonated with listeners. Jalen's voice is like a warm campfire, was quoted as saying in one of his posts during the blinds. The star is on Kelsey's side. It was via the knockout rounds and the battle rounds that Johnston demonstrated his adaptability. A harmony-driven duet of Luke Combs' Beautiful Crazy was the winning performance for him in his battle. This performance demonstrated his ability to mix with others while still holding his own. Ballerini was able to gain a berth in the playoffs because to his daring rendition of Zach Bryan's Something in the Orange during the knockouts. This rendition surprised Ballerini with its underlying passion. At this point, Johnston's audience was expanding, and users were making predictions that Jaelen had the potential to be a villain in the final. That knockout was magic in its purest form. During the playoffs, each coach chooses 3 of their 5 artists to move on to the live shows. This represents a moment that might either make or break the competition. A pop country crossover singer and a powerful voice with a dedicated fan base were both members of Team Kelsey, and Johnston had to contend with fierce competition from both of these artists. The decision he made to play Tim McGraw's "If You're Reading This" was a calculated risk that allowed him to draw on his country music heritage, while also striving to provide the emotional punch that was necessary to stand apart. The tragic ballad, "If You're Reading This," which was written in 2007 as a soldier's letter home, was performed by Johnston while he was competing in the playoffs. His performance was a masterclass in emotional delivery. The narrative of the song, which reflected love, sacrifice, and legacy, required Johnston to be vulnerable and real, which he possessed in plenty. When he first onto the stage, he was backed only a straightforward acoustic guitar, and he immediately impressed everyone with his quiet passion. His deep, weathered baritone conveyed the weight of the words, especially in lines like, "If you're reading this, I'm already home," which left the audience visibly moved. His baritone was rich and aged. The performance was significantly influenced by Ballerini's tutoring in a significant way. Her advice to Johnston was to sing like you're writing the letter yourself. She was aware of Johnston's capacity to connect with others via the art of storytelling. Moreover, she collaborated with him to reduce the arrangement to its most fundamental elements, so avoiding excessive production that may water down the song's sense of intimacy. Given that Johnston's raw delivery stood in stark contrast to the more flashy performances of other teams, this option proved to be successful, gaining plaudits on in the most heartbreaking way possible. Jalen's song, "If You're Reading This," just crushed my heart. Less is more, as the saying goes. Johnston chose to keep the visual presentation straightforward by donning a denim jacket and standing in front of a single spotlight. This allowed the words to get the attention they deserved. Through the use of small gestures, such as placing his palm over his heart during the chorus, he was able to amplify the emotional core of the song without appearing manufactured. The performance concluded in a dramatic vocal run on the final note, which demonstrated his technical talent while remaining loyal to the constraint of the song. The audience in the studio exploded in applause, and Ballerini was spotted wiping away tears. This reaction increased hype with remarks such as, "Kelsey's crying, I'm crying, we're all crying for Jaelen." The response that Ballerini had to Johnston's performance was one of tremendous admiration and pride. In her comments, she referred to it as a moment that defines why we do this show. and she praised his ability to make a song feel like it's yours. Not only was it a no-brainer for her to invite Johnston to participate in the live shows, but the performance also brought attention to the strategic guidance she had provided. Ballerini, who is well known for her own narrative-driven music, saw Johnston's ability to connect with the audience of The Voice, which places a greater emphasis on authenticity than vocal acrobatics. Johnston's abilities, including his gritty tone, emotional depth, and relatability, were the primary emphasis of Ballerini's mentoring relationship with him. She leaned into his country roots, but unlike other coaches who pushed for major genre swaps, she chose a song that aligned with his identity while simultaneously challenging him to achieve a moment that would define his career. The fact that she put her faith in Johnston's instincts paid off, as his performance stood out in comparison to the more flashy entries of Teen Bubbly and Teen Legend, both of whom preferred arrangements that were focused on pop music. Ballerini's ability to read the audience on The Voice was also demonstrated during the performance to great effect. According to data provided by country performances that featured compelling storylines had a strong trend throughout season 27, which reflected a fan base that was looking for authentic storytelling. Through the process of encouraging Johnston to be vulnerable, Ballerini made certain that his performance was well received by the audience, which positioned him as a potential contender for the final round. Not only was her emotional reaction a personal one, but it also served as a signal to the spectators that Team Kelsey placed a high premium on holding Johnston. The selection of "If You're Reading This" by Johnston was particularly astute from a strategic standpoint for a number of reasons. The first thing that it did was capitalize on the patriotic and emotional themes that are popular among the audience of The Voice in the Midwest, particularly during the playoffs, which were broadcast in close proximity to Veterans Day. A second benefit was that it set him apart from his peers who favored pop-infused or happy country music, so establishing a unique path for him to follow. Third, because the song was so straightforward, Johnston's voice and narration were able to show through, so avoiding the possibility of being swamped by the production. The influence of the performance encompassed more than just the stage. Over the course of just a few hours, videos of Johnston's playoff moment became viral on, accumulating more than 200,000 views. Jaelen Johnston just sang straight to my soul, one user wrote, expressing the admiration that his fans had for his genuine approach. In essence, this is the essence of country music. The performance also prompted comparisons to previous country singers who have appeared on The Voice, such as Craig Wayne Boyd, and commentators predicted that Johnston may likely achieve chart success in a manner comparable to that of Boyd. In spite of his success, Johnston will have to contend with obstacles during the live shows, where the votes of the audience will decide his fate. In order to compete against vocal powerhouses from teams Bubbly, Legend, and Levin, he will need to demonstrate variety while simultaneously maintaining the emotional connection the audience has with him. The coaching that Ballerini receives will be extremely important, since it may encourage him to perform in a manner that combines other genres, such as a country soul hybrid, in order to extend his appeal. As a result of Johnston's success in the playoffs, his profile has already increased. There is a growing crowd that is prepared to vote, as indicated by the fact that his following has increased, and there is interest from Nashville labels, according to industry sources. In the event that Johnston continues to provide performances that are genuine and narrative-driven, he has the potential to join the ranks of former contestants on The Voice, such as Cassidy Pope, who have converted their runs into successful careers. The performance of "If You're Reading This" that Jaelen Johnston performed during the playoffs of The Voice Season 27 was a pivotal moment. It left Coach Kelsey Ballerini with a profound impression, and it captivated spectators with its genuine and unfiltered expression of passion. The strategic song choice that he made, which was guided by the astute coaching that Ballerini provided, demonstrated his storytelling prowess and vocal fortitude, which earned him a seat in the live shows that was rightfully his. Johnston is considered a frontrunner because of his ability to connect with people through genuine performances. This talent positions him as he progresses forward. For the time being, his victory in the playoffs is a demonstration of the power that can be harnessed via sincerity, hard work, and a country ballad that is perfectly timed in the high-pressure environment of The Voice.